In 2013, a film arrived that didn't just aim to scare its audience. It sought to rewire their understanding of fear itself. The Conjuring, directed by James Wan, presented itself not as a work of fiction, but as a documented case file. Its opening text, a quiet declaration of war on our skepticism. This assertion of based on true events is more than a marketing tactic. It's the foundational layer of the film's power, a psychological primer that lowers our defenses. We are not entering a fantastical realm of monsters, but the Perron family's new home, a space that should signify safety, now rendered the epicenter of an inexplicable malevolence. The production of The Conjuring was an exercise in deliberate, almost classical restraint. After the frenetic, Saw-inspired editing of his earlier work, Wan and his cinematographer, John R. Leonetti committed to a style of patient, unhurried observation. They shot on 35mm film, embracing its texture and depth, and employed lengthy, fluid tracking shots that refused to look away. This technical approach was mirrored in the set design. The Perron house was a meticulously constructed set, not a location. Every creaking floorboard, every shadowy corner, every doorway was placed with intention. Wan understood that true horror resides in familiarity corrupted, and he built a home so convincingly ordinary that its haunting felt like a profound violation. The soundscape, designed by Joe Dzubon, is arguably the film's most potent weapon. It rejects the sudden, cacophonous stingers of lesser horror. Instead, it cultivates dread through absence and subtlety, the distant tick of a metronome in a silent room, the faint rustle of a sheet, the almost imperceptible whisper that seems to emanate from the walls themselves. The silence here is not empty. It is pregnant with listening. At the narrative heart of this technical precision are two parallel families, the Perrons fracturing under supernatural assault, and the Warrens, whose unity is their professional and spiritual armor. Ed and Lorraine Warren, portrayed with grounded conviction by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, are not flamboyant ghost hunters. They are investigators, archivists, and ultimately believers. Their dynamic reframes the entire genre. The horror is not countered with science or brute force, but with faith. A fragile, vulnerable faith that is constantly tested. Lorraine's clairvoyance is portrayed not as a superpower, but as a painful burden. Her vision of the demonic nun, Bathsheba, is a trauma, a crack in her spiritual armor that the entity relentlessly exploits. This brings us to the film's central, unsettling theme, the corruption of the maternal. The antagonist, Bathsheba Sherman, is a perversion of motherhood, a woman who sacrificed her child to the devil and now seeks to claim the children of others. Her haunting targets Carolyn Perron, the matriarch, aiming to sever the family's core bond and assume her place. The film's most chilling moments often involve this domestic subversion. A mother, the archetypal protector, is seen sleepwalking toward her children with a box of matches. The game of hide and clap transforms a childhood pastime into a ritual of predation. The horror succeeds because it attacks the very concept of sanctuary. Wan's direction masterfully escalates this tension through a principle of less is more. Before judiciously breaking it, consider the now iconic basement scene. For minutes, we follow Carolyn's flashlight beam through palpable darkness, the frame tight on her terrified face. The payoff is not a quick jump scare, but a prolonged, agonizing reveal. As the entity slowly claps behind her, the exorcism that forms the climax is where all these threads, faith, family, and filmmaking, converge. It is not a spectacle of supernatural pyrotechnics, but a grueling physical and emotional siege. Ed Warren's binding of Carolyn to the chair is an act of desperate love, a literal holding on against a force that seeks to annihilate connection. When Lorraine finally confronts Bathsheba, she does not wield a crucifix like a weapon. She holds it, speaks to the entity with a defiant grief, and commands it in the name of her love for her husband. The victory is earned through vulnerability and sacrifice, not violence. The Conjuring concludes not with a definitive eradication of evil, but with its containment. The haunted artifacts are stored away in the Warrens' room, a museum of unresolved trauma. The final shot of the music box, beginning to turn on its own, acknowledges that some darkness simply cannot be destroyed, only locked away for now. The film's legacy is evident in the decade of horror it inspired. It proved that atmospheric dread, character-driven stakes, and a respect for the audience's intelligence could achieve monumental success without reliance on gore or irony. It revived the haunted house subgenre, not through novelty, but through a return to fundamentals executed with peerless craft. Ultimately, The Conjuring endures because it understands that the most profound fears are not of the unknown, but of the known turning against us. It is about the violation of home, the weaponization of memory, and the terrifying fragility of the bonds we believe are unbreakable. James Wan didn't just make a scary movie. He constructed a meticulously engineered machine for experiencing dread, one whose quiet, insistent ticking we can still hear long after the screen has gone dark,